My heart is in.
Alright, what's up YouTube? This is BoxingWave. Let's talk James Kirkland and Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Cotto fight is not happening, alright? So now we're getting James Kirkland as his opponent. They were actually supposed to fight last year. I believe they had some negotiations going on late last year. I think this was like Canelo's last fight before the Miguel Cotto fight, okay? You know, Canelo was like scheduled to fight 3 times last year. It just never happened. He only fought twice. He fought Lara and Angulo, coming off of that loss to Floyd Mayweather. Now, last year when we talked about this fight, most people would say, you know, the fight can go one of 2 ways, okay? If Canelo can stop Kirkland early, then, you know, that's the best way. That's his best chances of winning the fight. The longer the fight goes, it's going to lean more towards Kirkland's favor. I think just about everybody that I hear talk about this fight says that, okay? Because Kirkland has the better stamina, okay? Kirkland does not stop. You're never going to get this guy to stop coming at you, all right? We know Canelo has stamina issues, okay? You know, he kind of gasses out halfway through the fight. As far as the advantages between the both of them, you know, Canelo has like almost all of the advantages. You know, he is the, well, maybe power, you can actually debate who's the bigger puncher between the two. But let's say it's a tie between them. But as far as boxing skills and ability, you know, counter punches and defense, you know, lateral movement, speed, just overall boxing ability and skills, I would give it to Canelo. As far as stamina, I would give it to Kirkland. And volume, I would give it to Kirkland. Because Kirkland just does not stop. I would say Canelo was more durable because we haven't seen Canelo down before. We haven't seen him badly hurt, you know. Well, it's happened before, but it's rare. We've seen James Kirkland get stopped. Okay, we've seen him down on a canvas. We've seen him, you know, you lose a couple fights. But the way this fight can play out to me, the way this fight is going to play out to me is I think Canelo's going to win this fight regardless if it goes a decision, if it goes late, if he stops him early. I think Canelo has little chance, very little chance of losing this fight, okay? I know last year when I did a prediction video with Canelo and Angulo, I thought there was a good chance that Angulo was going to pull off the upset in that fight because of Angulo coming off of that loss to Lara and what we saw in that fight and previous to that fight. Angulo didn't show up that night, all right? And he hasn't shown up since that fight with Lara. And Canelo was able to win just about every round. It was a shutout, all right? Maybe you could give Angulo 1 round out of that fight. But Kirkland is a different animal, and Kirkland beat Angulo. But see, the thing with Kirkland, and this is why I think Canelo is going to win regardless of how deep the fight is going to go. See, when Kirkland beat Glenn Tapia in his last fight late in 2013, and that's another point that I wanted to bring up, that we haven't seen Kirkland fight in a long time. Glenn Tapia was going for the knockout, okay? Glenn Tapia wasn't pacing himself correctly. He figured, you know, Kirkland was so easy to hit. He's chinny. He's been down before. And he figured that his boxing skills and his power was going to be able to stop. He was going to be able to stop Kirkland in that fight. And that's where he made a mistake. And he started getting tired. He was tired of movement. You know, he wasn't able to drop Kirkland, and Kirkland kept coming. And Tapia, as soon as Tapia's back touched the ropes and he started taking breaks, that's when Kirkland took over the fight. Okay, and little by little, Kirkland picked them apart. You know, Tapia was a lot less inexperienced than Kirkland, and you saw it in the fight. Same thing with Angulo when he fought Kirkland. You know, when Angulo was fighting him, he had Kirkland down. He had him hurt early, but he wasn't able to finish him off. And Angulo clearly punched himself out in that round, you know, trying to get Kirkland out of there early. And he paid for it for the rest of the fight because Kirkland took over after that first round. I believe he dropped Angulo later that round, but Angulo was tired. You know, he was punched himself out trying to knock Kirkland out, and it didn't happen. You know, then you have fights like the Carlos Molina fight where Molina was just outboxing him throughout the entire fight. But, you know, when Kirkland finally got him and caught him with a good shot, and dropped him in the ring, his corner came into the ring, and the ref disqualified Carlos Molina because of his corner. All right. If the fight continued, which, you know, it was because Molina did get back up, there's a good chance that Molina was going to win by decision because he won like every round leading up to that round. Okay. So there's the thing about Kirkland that I'm like, you know, I'm not saying he's overrated. You know, I'm not saying that at all. But I think Canelo is like an elite fighter. And the only thing that I could see, the only way I could see Canelo losing this fight is if he does the same thing that Angulo or Glenn Tapia did, and that's punching himself out. If he hurts Kirkland early, he still has to pace himself. The knockout will come. You know, the stoppage will come. You put enough punishment on this guy for a certain amount of rounds, you do what he does against him. You know, Kirkland is usually punishing his opponents. You know, he's usually knocking guys out based off accumulation of punches throughout every single round. Canelo is going to have to do that. Canelo is going to have to go to his body, slow him down. Just don't headhunt. Because Kirkland is usually, he's going to get back up. He's going to keep getting up. You hurt him, you drop him, he's still going to keep coming. Okay? Kirkland's never been knocked out cold. Even when he was stopped by Ishida in that fight, you know, Kirkland probably could have kept going. You know, it was the first round. Kirkland has been down in first rounds. He's probably going to be down in the first round in this fight. Canelo's going to have to maintain a certain pace. And I thought he did well. I think he did better than what people gave him credit for in that Angulo fight. I think people say, you know, he did slow down a bit, but it's natural for every fighter to slow down the longer the rounds go. It's natural. All right. He still was fighting at a high level in that 10th round or whatever round the fight was stopped. Okay. So I expect Canelo to win by domination. I think he's going to win by early stoppage or late stoppage. I think the fight is going to be a stoppage. I think he's going to put too much punishment on James Kirkland. You know, I think he's going to be able to drop him several times. And I think there's going to be a point where Kirkland's going to take too much punishment for Canelo. You know, if he goes 12 rounds with him, that's cool. But I just don't see Kirkland coming back. And even if Canelo slows down, I don't think it will be at a point where Kirkland's going to be able to take over. You know, I don't think he's going to make this mistake Glenn Tapia did. Canelo's a much better fighter than Glenn Tapia. You know, he's a bigger fighter. He's stronger. He's more skilled overall. And he hits harder than Glenn Tapia. And I think Canelo's going to be fine in this fight. I think he's going to look good in this fight. And he needs a fight to look good in because he hasn't looked that impressive lately. He hasn't, you know, and even with the wins, you know, I know he beat Trout, but people argue that Trout won that fight. You know, we saw what happened in the Mayweather fight, and people, you know, a lot of people think Lara beat him as well. So Canelo needs a fight where he can stop someone. He hasn't stopped anyone since Josecito Lopez, I believe. And Lopez was a smaller guy moving up from 147 to fight him. Okay, much smaller guy. Canelo is a bigger 154 fighter. And that's the last point I want to make. Canelo, I don't know what weight this fight is going to be at, okay? Because it was just announced like 2 days ago that they're going to fight. They're still trying to find the venue and everything. So everything's still fresh. But I don't know what weight they're going to fight at. Canelo hasn't fought at 154. I believe his last 2 fights were at 155, if I'm correct. And he's, you know, it's now we're in a new year. You know, I'm sure he's getting closer and closer to fighting someone at 160. You know, he almost got the fight with Cotto. You know, I don't know, you know, even though Cotto's not a real true middleweight, Canelo will soon be fighting at that division, you know, because he's not fighting for titles right now, okay? He hasn't fought for a title since he fought Floyd Mayweather, right? And he lost his titles in that fight. So I expect him to, you know, if the fight is not at 154, I expect the fight to be at 155 or 156, or, you know, anywhere near in between 155 and 160, okay? And that's going to play even more at his advantage because he doesn't need to worry about being weight drained. You know, a lot of people think that Canelo lost to Floyd, or part of the reason why he lost is because of his weight. He had trouble making the 152 pound. Now he can't even make 154. So I expect him to fight at a more comfortable weight for himself, which will be even better when in regards to his stamina issues. Okay, so I see Canelo by stoppage, whether it's early. I'm not gonna give a certain round because even if Canelo hurts him and drop him early, he may not stop him early. But I think you know, I think Canelo's gonna be able to stop Kirkland late in this fight. All right, like I said, the only way I see James Kirkland winning this fight is if Canelo goes for the kill and is unsuccessful, and he gasses himself out very early, punches himself out, and then James Kirkland wins, comes back. But I don't see that happening. I think Canelo's gonna be fine. I think he's gonna look good in winning this fight, and I think he's gonna stop James Kirkland, whether or not he's with Ann Wolfe. You know, James Kirkland hasn't even fought for a while since he beat Glenn Tapia, all right? And even before that fight, I think he wasn't fighting, you know, much even before that fight, okay? So I think Canelo got this all the way, all right? So that's my prediction, and make sure you subscribe. Peace.